From PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina, this is TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm staff writer Jacob Turner, and alongside me, as he usually is, THI publisher Andrew Jones. And Andrew, about an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour ago now, so North Carolina coming to this building, get their 7th straight win on the road against the Wolfpack, 75-65 here in PNC. And AJ, I think the first thing we have to talk about in terms of how this game eventually panned out for North Carolina, I have to say, first and foremost, I didn't expect Carolina to win. I know I picked it on my staff picks. I had a little bit of optimism after that Miami game. I was feeling a little bit better about them beating the worst team in the league probably, but they came in here and did it. And they were led by Garrison Brooks, 25-11 from him. Another big performance by him. AJ, I started covering this team last year. Obviously, you've been doing it for longer. You've got to cover Garrison throughout his whole career. But we didn't see this from Garrison Brooks last year. He had some games where he stepped up and did some good things, but they didn't need him as much as they do this year. But over the past few weeks, man, I mean, he's really stepped up and he's turned into a really solid player for North Carolina. And it's the swagger, the explosiveness, everything he's doing just looks completely different from last year.
He's taken his game not to another level, but to several levels above where it was even in early December.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think about some of the games, Ohio State. You think about Wofford. You think about Gonzaga even. We were seeing some glimpses of stuff, but I think I asked Garrison tonight a couple of things. It was a really good interview that a couple others and I did with Garrison after the game. And one of the things I asked him, which was in fun, was that I saw on Twitter someone put out there that Garrison was channeling his inner Luke May because Luke owned the Wolfpack the last 2 years in this building, and he forced NC State to be so uber focused on him that it opened stuff up for other guys. Garrison did that tonight. Now, he wasn't scoring in all the same ways Luke did, but when he got the ball into the paint and got a defender on his hip, he was scoring.
Absolutely.
He didn't score with the line, hit a couple free throws, missed a few late, which Roy talked about after the game, but it was a magnificent performance, and it was personal. That's the other question I asked him. I said, you've been playing like this is personal. Like there was a different layer of meaning that's accompanying his game in the last month or so. You go back to 35-11 against Georgia Tech. Had an amazing game. Those were Bryce Johnson-like numbers like he had down at Florida State that one night, and Garrison was devastated that they had lost. He didn't care. And I think we've seen these parts in his game as a leader, as being the go-to guy, as a guy that knows he has to carry the team in stretches. We've seen that kind of come together. They were scattered parts. Tonight, we saw all that at the same place at the same time. Andrew Playtech told me after the game that when I gave him the Luke May thing, he said, well, yeah, they rode Luke in stretches in this building the last 2 years. They rode Garrison tonight. Garrison's play gave the rest of them confidence. I didn't expect Garrison to play as well as he is before the season, and I don't think anybody did. I know Garrison has a lot of ambition, and thinks that his game's got a really high ceiling, maybe higher than some people thought a couple months ago, myself included. I love seeing guys improve. I love seeing guys grab hold of an opportunity and just skyrocket. And this dude is skyrocketing, and name me a big man in the ACC playing better than Garrison Brooks in the last 4 weeks.
Absolutely. I think another player that maybe didn't step up statistically, didn't fill up the stat sheet tonight, but we need to touch on Brandon Robinson. A big game for him in terms of playing through injury, playing through a little bit of adversity. I mean, there was a part in the second half when he go out in the first half where it seemed like he tweaked that right ankle. And then the second half, he's got a little rib injury. But he keeps coming back. He goes to the locker room, 2 or 3 times at least, and then would come back out and keep playing.
3 times.
But I know in the second half in particular, we were sitting beside each other close to the court. And I mean, every time he got the ball, every time he did anything, he was grabbing his side, grimacing. But he kept playing. He kept working through it. And I mean, just from him, like I said, he didn't fill up the stat sheet tonight. But for somebody to just do what he did and keep playing, bring that energy to the court and play through injury and pain like he did, I mean, that says a lot about him and kind of the player he's becoming this season.
He scored a career high 29 on Saturday against Miami, but his value was the same tonight.
Absolutely.
In a different way. He gave them an edge. And Andrew Playtech also said, look, we see him playing like that. I mean, that just fuels guys. There was a time we were sitting on pressure right across from Carolina's bench. There was a point in the second half where I think he saved the loose ball, took a dribble, passed it out, and we could hear him groan.
I remember that play. I remember that play.
And Mike Eads, the official, even
he came up to him and asked him if he was okay.
Brandon, are you okay? You okay? And he's like, I got it like that. He went down the other end and made a stop on defense.
Yeah, says all you need to know.
This guy weighs a half a pound more than when he arrived 4 years ago. He's got the skinniest legs of anybody I've ever seen in the ACC.
Yeah.
He looks like a windstorm would be trouble for him.
He's been playing great.
But man, he has got some grit.
Oh, absolutely.
He's got some serious grit. And I said, Garrison's taking this personally. He said tonight, this is my senior year. It's my last time in this building. I'm not letting this opportunity go. And he senses that this team is getting better, and he's a big part why. They almost won without him up in Blacksburg. He missed the game with a stiff neck as a result of the car accident. And you wrote a really good piece the other day about how he took some crap from people on social media about how he was the reason they didn't win because he was soft and all that. Anybody who wrote that about this kid is ignorant and isn't paying attention.
Absolutely not.
He is a tough SOB. What I saw tonight, bad ankle, bad rib, and really bad rib, bad neck, all 3 different parts of his body, and he fought through it.
Yeah.
Went to the tunnel 3 times. Doug Halverson talked to him 10 times more tonight than Roy Williams.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So when you have Garrison taking ownership and forcing teams to be so focused on what he's doing, and then you have Brandon Robinson a couple of days after the career scoring game putting his body on the line like that, there's no alternative but for the other guys to just go along. They got to keep pace, and that's what this team has done the last couple of games, and absolutely did it tonight.
AJ, I know a lot of Carolina fans in particular probably hit the panic button a few weeks ago. Carolina dropping 8 and 10, and not playing good basketball. But 2 wins in a row. I know it was against Miami, but this is a big win on the road against the NC State team. And we've always seen it. We've seen it a lot in the past with any Carolina team. They always seem to get hot around this time of year, no matter how good or bad they are. Around January, February, they usually seem to step up that game. And AJ, right before our eyes, it looks like this team might be starting to do that too. When you look at the past couple of games, and even Virginia Tech, they put in a good performance there, just couldn't pull it out in the end. But this team's improving, and it's refreshing to see, I guess, from what we had been seeing. Well,
they're starting this upward trajectory from a much lower point than they usually do, but it is an upward trajectory nonetheless. I wrote a column up in Pittsburgh about sort of the disposition after that game. It was mainly of Roy, and the headline was, same result, different tone. I got the sense that they had gone through the shock, and I can't believe we're in this, we're losing these games, and look what our uniform says, we're not supposed to lose this. I thought they had gotten through that, they had gotten through the stages of bewilderment, and they had started to relax some. And I believe that they hear Roy better now than they did 3 weeks ago. And as a result, they're doing what he wants them to do on the court better than he did 3 weeks ago. I think getting healthier, like with Leaky Black, is big too, because you got to have somebody to point.
Yeah, you got to have a point.
And Leaky told us last Friday that the turf toe's almost 100%. Just watch him play. If you tape the games, like a lot of Carolina fans do, go back to the Georgia Tech home game or the Pitt home game. Look at Leakey's movement then, and look at it tonight. Look at it against Miami. Even look at it in Blacksburg last week. Head up, more lateral, more decisive. He had another good game tonight. Back-to-back double-figure scoring games for Leakey. The team's getting better. They're getting better because I think they're starting to believe, and they're seeing some of this gritty stuff pay off. If you go back to halftime at Pittsburgh, that's the second half in Pittsburgh, the full game and 2 overtimes in Blacksburg, Miami, and tonight, that's 7 halves? I would say they've been the better team than their opponent for those 7 halves. Even though they lost in Blacksburg, I still think they were probably slightly better that night.
They were too,
but they just didn't know how to win. They had the 12-point lead and they didn't close it out. Tonight they closed it out. They're getting better. They're getting a lot more confident. And guess what? They got 3 quad wins now. I know people are saying, oh, don't jump ahead of yourself. Look at the nation. The fence is going to be littered with a lot of bad, mediocre teams.
It's a bad year for college basketball.
This club has 3 of those things. They're going to get Cole back eventually, and suddenly they're improving. So Cole will join a team that's far better than they were when he went down. So, look, you can't have a 12-game or 10-game winning streak in one night. You got to string them together, and you got to figure out ways to win and do different stuff. They almost did it in Blacksburg. They were sensational against Miami. They kind of got the wounded duck, took care of it, didn't let the wounded duck get any life. And tonight, this was NC State should have won. Going into this game, if you're an NC State fan, you got to be so disappointed. This was the time NC State was supposed to beat Carolina.
Absolutely.
Tar Heels didn't let it happen. They looked like Carolina at times in this game, actually more often than not, and that's why they won. If you're a Carolina fan, you've got to be very encouraged. You got BC coming up, a quick flight to Florida State next Monday night, 5 days off, and the Blue Devils come to town.
Yeah.
We could be having a very different conversation about where this season is headed in about 2 weeks. And the only reason we think that that's possible is because of what they've done in the last week and a half.
It's going to be interesting to see how this team continues to develop, but it's definitely a lot more, I guess, entertaining for us to cover a team that's winning every once in a while.
Storylines. I was getting tired of writing it.
Yeah, the same story every week, same video every week. You know, they lose again.
How many times can you write a story that a ham sandwich has ham, bread, and cheese? I'm glad that we've added some mustard to this thing now.
A little flair to it.
A little mayo, maybe.
For TarHeelIllustrated.com and Jacob Turner, he's been Andrew Jones. Carolina going to PNC tonight, 75-65 win over the Wolfpack, and obviously we'll be back this weekend. Carolina taking on Boston College, like AJ mentioned. But if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. Be sure to subscribe to THI. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.